Hello, welcome. My name is Andréa Albright, and this is the Transcendent Leader Interview Series. We are here with the one and only Satyen Raja. Hello, Satyen.
Hi, Andrea. Thanks so much for having this and helping create this series of great interviews we're going to be having with some really extraordinary individuals.
Thank you for bringing all of us together for this conversation. You're going to be hearing about me and the impact that Satyen has made in my life, my business as a transcendent leader. But before we get into that, Satyen, why are you committed to raising the conversation about leadership around the world?
Well, I think it's a very opportune time as business leaders to really come to a place where we can dive deeper than the traditional direction and impetus business has gone. Business for many years has mostly been about personal gain, personal win, personal success. And now a transformation is happening on this planet where just having success for oneself, that's beautiful, that's great. We can enjoy freedom and have a lot of fun and gain our own wins in life. But some of us have done that in our life, and we're seeking something, we're yearning for something deeper, more enriching, more fulfilling. We're wanting a life of great freedom at the next level of being. So for me, transcendent leadership is about moving beyond the old paradigms of control, the old paradigms of success, and touching the place within us that is transcendent and expansive and beyond just me, beyond just we, and is actually tapping into the magic of, let's say, the cosmos itself, the magic of existence itself. And this is a magical realm that when we as leaders tap into, awaken, and bring into life, what happens is an extraordinary life of freedom starts to occur, way beyond the traditional models of success. And so I wish to share that. This series is about demonstrating how other leaders like yourself can infuse yourself with these wisdoms, pragmatic, real wisdoms that create a life of profound love, profound freedom, profound joy. So that's just the touch, all right?
It really is just the touch. And the leader who is joining us in this conversation may hear these words and think, well, that just sounds like a fantasy or like a fairy tale. And the day-to-day experiences that leaders are facing, having to get their team motivated day after day, having to grow their business and their profits, meeting the demands of shareholders and their customers. You know, these are the real world experiences and conversations and these obstacles that real world leaders are facing today. So how is this conversation and this interview series going to help with those day-to-day obstacles of a leader?
Well, there's an ancient adage that says, how you do anything is how you do everything. It's an ancient wisdom. And so where we're operating from, our internal software is putting out the world that we have, the external world. A transcendent leader recognizes that their external world is a creation and transmission, a reflection of their inner state of being. And so if your inner state of being is full of chaos, it's full of overwhelm, it's full of struggle, it's full of tension, it's full of imprints that are, unconsciously influencing how you do everything, all right? If something would take just a very 1, 2, 3 moves, but you have a lot of chaos in your mind, you've got struggle, you've got all types of imprints, you've got all types of fears, then what's going to happen is your wisdom, your insight, your knowledge, your precision, your clarity, your education is all being skewed by these interference patterns in your consciousness, in your subconscious mind. And so the key is when we go in and we learn to switch on those dormant parts of our consciousness, we learn to rewire the parts of our consciousness which is not serving us in our leadership, that's making us play small. Unconscious imprints, unconscious feelings of I'm not good enough, or that I need to prove something to my family members who have passed on years ago, or when you were a youngster, you didn't get what you actually really wanted in life. And so somehow we're unconsciously seeking that. If that is the fuel, the source, the impetus, the motivation to grow, to expand your leadership, your gain, your win in life, well, what will happen is eventually there'll be a breakdown. Eventually there'll be a backfiring. Eventually you'll be shooting yourself in your own foot, because it's only when you come from an aligned mind, an aligned soul, an aligned consciousness, where you're awake, the new term woke, meaning awake to reality. You're awake to who you truly are. You're not walking someone else's shoes. You're not leading, you're not following the tune of some piper, no matter who or how successful they are. You're following what is your own. In the East, they say your dharma, your path of power, your path of prominence, your path of truth. So really, transcendent leadership for me is about dialing in physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ourselves, so that pragmatically our leadership is very potent, becomes far more potent. What we say has far more impact. How we live, just the expression of our life, becomes an influence factor. To our teams, they want to aspire to be like us. They wish to take our lead. They wish to take our direction volitionally. Directly, they wish that. So it calls upon, it awakens the natural desire of our teams to follow along and to align around visions and missions that move us. Our job as a transcendent leader is to find those visions, to generate those missions, to generate the architecture in our businesses that brings and fosters alignment for something that's beyond gain, perhaps ultimately the higher good.
Amazing. And as a leader, it can be both hard to hear that the buck stops with you. You take full responsibility for all the systems in your organization and how your team is active or reactive, but at the same time, it's empowering to know that when the leader becomes aligned, then all the other systems and the people surrounding the leader also have this opportunity to become aligned within themselves. Would you agree?
Absolutely. In martial arts, the more we're aligned in our body, the more our form is exact, the more capacity we have, the more movement we can create with the least amount of effort. The higher one goes in the realm of martial arts or any sport. It means, and what we strive for, even in in music, in any artistry, is that we go from more, using more and more energy, using willpower, using intention, to slowly relaxing, becoming more unconsciously competent about our work, and ultimately where we go into a free-form state of being, where we know exactly what needs to move where, how to direct our teams which way, who needs attending to, who needs a good pep talk, who needs some nurturance, who needs some firm challenge to say, come on, you could do better than that, I know that, who needs some more deeper acknowledgement, saying, please, you've done so well so far, I understand you've got some challenges, come, let's move this way. In transcendent leadership, the idea is that within your being, you're cultivating a sensitivity that is far deeper than just the sensitivity of the rational mind or the organizing capacity of the rational mind. You're dialing into a frequency of flow, and you're sensing, am I in that frequency or flow? Or am I resisting that frequency and flow of life? Or am I trying to overly control everything and have it go my way, only my way, which is only causing some time of internal stress, internal struggle, perhaps at home, perhaps in the family life, perhaps our health and vitality, it's deteriorating or has deteriorated because we put so much struggle and strain and effort in one realm of our life. So for me, transcendence is a holistic view where we're able to see from above our whole life, our businesses, and rather than always immerse ourselves in it, we come above as a natural witness, as a consciousness, as an observer of reality. We remove and we detach to any excessive importance or emotional embroilment that we've put into a circumstance, which is almost impossible not to do, right? Especially as a leader. But when we move back, when we take a look at things from very high up and we take a look at what's the state of my sense of belief, my sense of faith, my sense of conviction from the inside, truly. Do I have faith in myself, in my capacity, in this project, in the universe? What's the state of my family? What's the state of my love with my beloveds, my children, my spouse, my close family members, my friends? Am I nurturing it? Am I fostering it? Or am I, you know, if you will, am I just letting it dry away and fizzle away? Or am I nurturing faith, family? To me, it's also about nurturing our finance, but not just our earning capacity, which much of our emphasis goes. It's coming to peace with our earning, personally and professionally. So peace meaning, has our earning, saving, spending, and investing, is it in harmony? Is it harmony within? Are we feeling oodles of peace, or are we still stressed no matter how much money we're making? And then our fitness, our vessel. We have this divine vessel which does incredible things, which, you know, we're right here sharing, speaking. This is the vessel in which we live our life from. And it's the vessel in which we lead from. Are we leading our vessel? Is it the highest expression of freedom and flow and ease and joy and vibrancy and vitality that we can have? So by asking these things personally, first checking in, what happens is we take self-responsibility of our total dimension of being, which is the new way and is in fact must happen nowadays. Because when we take into the account our whole totality of being, then we start to nourish the whole totality of being. And then what starts to happen is, as we come into wholeness, we start to nourish the totality of our teams. And then our teams grow. Their faith, their families become stronger. Their finances become healthier and more joyful and more peaceful. Their fitness and health and their desire to be in the pocket, in their highest attunement, starts raising and going up. And we as leaders are responsible for that, to support that, to help nourish that, and to be the example and the demonstration of that.
Amazing. I love your passion. And obviously there are a lot of books on leadership and seminars on leadership. And why is this different? I know you've covered this, but if someone is just now coming into this conversation with you, let us know about who you are, what you've done, how you came to all of this, and why this conversation is different than everything else that's out there.
Well, I'll start first of all. The number one reason it's different is because there's real life examples. You're a real life example. I'm so glad you're going to be sharing about your experience and story. I'm a real life example. All the noble CEOs and founders and leaders that are going to be in this interview series, they have accomplished far beyond the norm. They've accomplished extraordinary things. You can read about it, which is very good. You'll get imprints from books. But to have this direct connection where you can ask CEOs and leaders who have accomplished great things personally and professionally, you see there's a transmission, I believe, by one's example. There's nuances that you can only get when you see and feel the body language, when you're dialed into the energy of an individual, and when they're sharing freely without scripts, and are sharing not from so much just their mind, but from this deeper connection of being. This is the power of this series. We're going to be getting a direct dial-in, if you will, a matrix download of everyone's really top attributes. And my invitation is, don't just listen with the mind. Don't just listen with your notes, although you can take many notes. Listen with your whole being, the ears of your ears. Listen with your body especially, so you can receive the wisdom transmission that these profound leaders, including yourself, are living and emanating. And so I think this is one of the things that makes it very unique today. And also the quality of the individuals we have here. Not only are they extraordinary business mavens, they live a life of equilibrium, a life of magic, a life of mystery, a life of profound freedom, beautiful magic, relationship chemistry. It's really something to experience. And I feel that we can receive their gifts as a whole body inspiration, so that when we are complete listening or receiving these downloads, we can go immediately back into our businesses and apply the dial up, the tune-ins, the expressions immediately. So the value for me is inconceivable. Now, in terms of background, I come from an entrepreneurial family going back many, many generations, Africa, India, England, and then finally arriving in Canada. And my journey has been a life of how I can integrate entrepreneurship, which is for me the desire to create one's reality, to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, offering services and products that are aligned with the self, that give oneself freedom. To me, that's the ultimate reason of business and making money for oneself. It's to have the self-resourcefulness to enjoy the experiences of life that we're really here to do. So that's been my joyful passion ever since I've been a young fellow. And I've had a series of very successful businesses, mostly in the realm of human potential, holistic health, consciousness raising. And then I've also had other realms in the realms of real estate and other types of businesses, you name it. So I've been in the hard physical worlds of real estate. I've been a franchisor. I've been a franchisee. I've experienced the gamut of many, many businesses, only because it's been a passion of mine. And I've taken the time to really learn and be at the feet of what I consider some of the greatest enlightened, conscious, awake entrepreneurs who are expressing a new reality of entrepreneurship, where they're like dazzling on the inside, as well as living these extraordinary lives. So first of all, I'm a student, just like you. I've arrived, I've achieved some great successes in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm also the perpetual student, because I believe we need to be a teacher and a student. So today, and with all these great leaders, I'm also here to learn, and I hope we all are here as well to do the same.
Thank you for that background, and thank you for just inviting everyone into this conversation. One of the foundations of your message is that when we all contribute to one another, we all rise together. That is very different than a cutthroat, competitive corporate environment that maybe some of the leaders listening have come from. And so can you just talk about that shift in the collaboration model away from the competition?
Absolutely. Well, in my experience, you know, we have different stages of growth. We can, starting in a simple form of model, the first stage, like an inner circle, is when we need to take care of our personal needs. It's the needs level of relating. And we have food, shelter, all the basic needs of life. And much of our impetus, much of our unconscious, if you will, triggers and our unconscious motives are all based on taking care of this need to fill and to be safe, to have the foundations handled, okay? That's the me state of being. Now we can go deeper into the me, where it starts to become, how can I say, egoic, where it's about me to fulfill something that I don't feel fulfilled in, or to show the world that I am successful, or to show my family that I'm successful, or to show within my peer group that look at me, I'm successful. But that's all first stage, because that's really trying to nurture and nourish one's personal ego. And the ego can never be fully satisfied. The more you try to fill it, the more you try to feed the ego goes, it's hungry, it feels good for a little bit. The self-esteem might feel temporarily boosted. But then when you're not around people and they're not praising you, you're not praising yourself, then all of a sudden your ego can get a kicking and get hurt, and then kick into this first stage desire to get even more acknowledgement, more desires fulfilled. And so the first stage egoic element can never, ever, ever be truly fulfilled. And so the more we're willing to relinquish our desire to fulfill only the first stage egoic needs of ourself, then we're going to be stuck. We'll never be fully happy. We'll never be fully free. So when we start to feel that, and we know that within our being, many of us, especially those in the circle who are interested in conscious leadership, conscious business, transcendent leadership, we've come to recognize we need to enter more of a we state, going from me, becoming more expansive. And by we state, I mean taking into account that you are a being, that you actually have a life of great significance. You actually have a life of great meaning. And so in transcendent leadership, it's about the mutual recognition of this. And knowing that you have gifts to give, I have gifts to give. How can we join in collaboration with these gifts rather than make it us versus them, me versus you, my win versus your win, crush one over another, make a killing over one another, take over. In the first stage, even our business languaging is filled with militaristic imprints. And so in the second stage, we go from me to we. Now, there is a deeper stage, an ultimate stage, I believe, that we're all moving into. And it's high time all of us do move into it, because this is a collaboration which goes beyond just we. It takes into account the great symbiotic whole. We are actually connected to the whole. And sometimes we can have spiritual experiences through meditation, spiritual experiences through shamanic journeying, spiritual experiences through the inner awakening work that I do with our groups and in our trainings, where it's not an idea that we are symbiotically related to the whole. There's actually an awakening, a true internal awakening to one's relationship to the whole. It's not mental, it doesn't come through books, it comes through deep self-investigation, deep self-inquiry into the nature of who you are, who I am, what we are. And when we penetrate the veils of illusion around who and what we are, and we go to the ultimate source, we find the ultimate source. The ultimate source is oneness. And so in reality, we are oneness. We're not seeking love. We're not seeking freedom. We might be at superficial levels, but at the eternal level of our being, the existential level of our deepest essence, we actually are oneness and freedom and love. And when we get to be in touch with that and awaken that, then an interesting recalibration happens in our internal life, which then starts to influence our personal life. We start to see our families, and we start to see where have we been not treating them as a relationship in symmetry and symbiosis in oneness. So rather than guilt, shame, and obligation, rather than those motives that you wish to love and deepen your family relationships, you start to naturally do it to come into equilibrium with the great flow. And it happens very naturally. The same thing then starts to happen in your business, where rather than try to infuse your business with higher ideals and noble intentions, which is beautiful, or just ideas that one has picked up from reading or listening, one's inner awakening starts to inform how to lead the company. So it's not just being led from the mind or from metrics or from parameters of the old ways of doing business. We're also feeling what wants to emerge in our being. What is yearning to be birthed, to be expressed. Something wants to arise right now. So it's meeting our intention with what wants to and what's yearning to come into one's life, one's business. And it's when we blend those wisdom centers that our business goes from stagnant or like this, and sometimes takes very powerful non-linear, as you've experienced, non-linear jumps where synchronicities happen, opportunities happen in ways that one cannot even imagine. It seems mystical. And although it's not mystical, it can seem that way when that depth of being is awakened and we're coming from our enlightened true selves.
There are so many amazing concepts of your message. And one of the ones that I think is most powerful is that you can have an experience of oneness and this divine fulfillment and peace, but you don't have to go to a mountaintop in order to experience it, because many leaders are called to be in service or to have high levels of ambition to accomplish great things. And so it's not a disconnection. In fact, you have named your entire company off of this word. I love this word. Could you introduce your beautiful word, your beautiful phrase, and then talk about the 5 different stages?
Yeah, share more. To give me the context of that, okay? From
Well,
how you understand.
So the warrior sage is a person who knows that we have strengths, we have abilities, we have unique opportunities in this lifetime to create greatness for ourselves, for our families, for others, and even for the planet. And when you realize that, it's not something that you can discard or even eliminate from your life, because you find that it gives you that sense of purpose, that sense of strength, and it's a commitment to all of the talents and the gifts that are showing up for you. And so you want to honor it. You want to be powerful. You want to accomplish. And that desire to be a warrior, if you let it consume you, or if you obsess about it to the point where you are all about just conquering and achieving without any awareness of the impact that you're truly making, not only on yourself and your own nervous system, but the impact with the rest of the world, it can be what we see in leadership today, where it's dominating, forceful, and it's ultimately not sustainable. And I think we're all witnessing what happens when you have that warrior ambition without consciousness. And so when you introduce this phrase, warrior sage, it's a way of having that ambition fulfilled without it destroying your soul, and actually coming into a higher sense of awareness and of service. And it's just the most incredible concept I've ever experienced in business, in leadership, and in life.
Thank you for that. So the warrior aspect, yes, that's that strength of conviction, the strength of follow through, the strength of making your word law, bringing your creative capacities into reality. The warrior is the action oriented within us. Now, obviously, the warrior has the archetypes of one who is conquering and defeating some type of enemy. Now, the old school was the enemy was external. The enemy was some form of invader, some form of fortress that needed to be overcome. Now, in this philosophy, the warrior is one who's not looking at the things external to themselves to conquer, but looking at one's own, if you will, weaknesses, blind spots, unconscious areas within ourselves. So the warrior is one who is connected to and wishes to truly look at the truth of what's going on in life. So to be if you will, an enlightened warrior, we have to be able to be willing to look at ourselves with vulnerability, deep truth, to look at where are we actually aligned, on purpose, on focus, intentional, and celebrate it. And we also have to take a look at, as a warrior, where am I overly exerting? Where am I using way too much force but not getting the results I want, personally, professionally? Where am I burning out? Where am I excessively utilizing my warrior energy and I'm not reprieving? I'm not replenishing myself. So warrior alone is strong, but if you're only kicking in the warrior and are very strong from yourself and actively working that archetype within your being, within our being, there will be an eventual burnout. The universe does not like imbalance. It's always seeking balance. That's another key principle of transcendent leadership is to avoid the creation of excess potentials. Anything that we do with excessiveness always ends up creating an imbalance. Some form of excess push in reality creates some pushback somewhere else. And so these excessive potentials we generate, they draw up a phenomena in existence of balancing forces. Something will bring you back into balance. If you push too hard for weeks, months, years, your body's going to take a breakdown. It's going to have a physical, a mental, an emotional, perhaps internal breakdown if you don't replenish yourself. And that's why, rather than come into balance through the hard way, where now something happens, a disease, an illness, something shows up in your face where you have to take a rest, you have to go on a vacation to vacate the intensity of what you've been up to. Rather than that, the transcendent leader feels for the beginnings of when they start feeling out of equilibrium. You start attuning, you become more attuned to your soul and mind's voice. And are they more comfortable? Is there discomfort in my body knowing? And we become more aware of the subtle awarenesses. And this is all taught and practiced and developed, where we become aware of the subtler messages from our innermost. And then we start to dial in and follow those subtler messages. And those subtler messages awaken what I call the sage within us. The sage is that eternal, divine, joyful aspect that's already, always, already free. The warrior's trying to gain freedom and create more freedom, but the sage within us is already free. It's the one that takes the time to smell the roses, to walk bare feet in the grass, to take time with one's lover and embrace and just breathe and feel and make deep, loving eye contact with their lovers, with your children, connecting with heart and compassion and giving deep presence and connection. So for me, the sage within us all, if you will, is the ultimate metaphysical archetype within us, the magician. And the sage is the one that is not using excessive willpower and has released the grip of control into the arms of surrender. And we surrender to the greater force, the aligning, great cosmic alignment of the universe, if you will. Some might call it God, some might call it truth, some might call it existence, the void. Doesn't matter what we call it. My experience is that there is this ultimate, absolute, transcendent existence, this reality within us. And we can become aware of it, we can awaken it, we can stoke it, and then this transcendent sagely aspect within ourselves, it becomes a powerful navigation tool through existence. The moment we feel out of our mind and soul unity, we stop. We don't need to make business decisions that day. We can take a little longer. And then when our soul and mind come into greater unity, and that feels right, that also at a cognitive level sounds very right and in tune, from the mental levels, from the education levels, from the organization levels, it sounds right. But on a gut feeling level, on a human collaborative level, there's also a feeling of a deep yes. When you have those together, one's business becomes unstoppable. When we dial into the wisdom of the sage and the power of the warrior within us, then there's nothing we cannot attain, personally and professionally. That is our ultimate power, and we have that to awaken today.
Unbelievable. And like you said, the big difference between your work and your concept versus all these other leadership programs out there is that you have real world stories, real world case studies. And I guess I could get into mine.
I would love to hear yours. I would love to hear yours. I'm sure everyone would love to hear yours too.
Yeah, thank you. Well, okay, let me start by saying the ancient phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. that was very much my experience meeting you, Satyan. And I had actually been through a very big crisis in my life. I have been an entrepreneur for over 16 years, and I have developed profitable brands in fitness and weight loss and also internet marketing. So I have very much been a part of investing in myself, growing myself as an entrepreneur, as a leader. And I do love business because that is my greatest teacher on a spiritual level. And so I'm very actively always growing in business. I had been through a very difficult divorce, and my ex-husband and I had multiple seven-figure businesses, and then he had an affair with my bridesmaid. So it was not only a financial devastation, but also emotional. And not only the pain of the divorce, also the betrayal of my best friend. And I think the worst thing that I was experienced out of all of that was that I began to question my own self, because I wondered, how could I have gotten in this situation? And I started to doubt my own abilities to make decisions from leadership and from really just having a fulfilling, enjoyable life. And so I was very much in a place of cocooning. I had isolated myself from my community. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know who I could talk to. It was just a really, really lonely, confusing time in my life as an entrepreneur and also as a human being. My heart was broken. And so when you found me in that place, you reached out to me and you knew who I was, even amidst all that chaos and trauma, and to be seen for, I won't say my potential, I will say my soul, my true self. For you to be able to see my true self, even amidst all that drama and chaos, and even me beginning a brand new business, which I hadn't even incorporated yet whenever you and I first met, for your ability to see through all of that human drama and see me, that was really what made me trust and know that you are my mentor. And for me to say someone is my mentor, that is the highest compliment. It's also the highest act of surrender that I can ever give. I do not have a lot of mentors. In fact, I consider you my second mentor in my entire business career and experience. And what I need from a mentor is more than just a brilliant business mind who has created multiple levels of success in the business world. Because I am also a fitness and a health expert, I see the whole of a person's physical health and their aura. And so for you to also be a master of the physical realm in martial arts and physical fitness and health, the vibration of your body is so highly tuned. And for me to respect someone as my mentor, I would also have to respect that they honor their physical health and their physical body. And then there was another component of you being a family man and having your devotion to your wife of over 30 years and your beautiful children whom you are so proud of who they are as individuals. And that was really also what showed me that you are a leader that not many people have an opportunity to even interact with someone who has succeeded in both business and also relationship. And then I didn't even know you were surrounded by all these other incredible, magical warrior sages that are also on the journey. So I will say that for me to say you are my mentor, it's by me surrendering my mind and saying, okay, help me figure this out. This is a confusing world. When you have a high IQ, when you have high ambition, there's just very few people who you can trust that know more than you and can guide you into levels that you're not even aware of. And I will say my success story continues. It's only been a year, and I started Beverly Hills Publishing a year ago. We have had an astronomical year in terms of growth and revenue. Most of all, I feel the highest level of fulfillment I've ever felt in business. I am truly living my genius, and I am serving my clients and my audience and my market at the highest level. And I'm not having the breakdowns that used to happen. Every time I would become successful, then something would destroy it, and I would have to start all over from scratch. And I will say that there was a part of me that actually created an identity around that struggle. I used to believe that it was my ability to rise from the flames as the phoenix, that was my strength. And what the hardest part of working with you in the beginning was that I had to release my struggle. And I thought that my identity was wrapped around that story of struggle. And so once I was able to recognize that the struggle is no longer necessary, and in fact, it was actually preventing me from accessing higher levels of true strength, that original struggle that I had to release the struggle, now that I've released it, I am experiencing what could only be described as mystical, magical, serendipitous, and play in my life and in my business. And I am forever grateful that you found me when you did.
It's an absolute honor. You know, you're a vessel of light, and, you know, your business, which Beverly Hills Publishing, which helps leaders in their own right all find the way to bring their voice, their message, their impact to the world. Your capacity to draw that out so that someone can actually have their life's wisdoms in a condensed book in such a short period of time, done with such clarity and beauty, and dialing in the essence of their teachings, their life experience. Who else? You must be that one to do it. You're the natural one to do it. And so I really feel that for us to attain these levels of serendipitous flow, as you shared, mystical, seemingly mystical, I believe they are mystical experiences, is when we're tapped into the Tao, as they say in the ancient days in the East. In the East, they say when you're tapped into the Tao, you're tapped into the flow of existence. You're one with the flow of existence. You're not fighting it. You're not separate from it. Through spiritual illumination, through awakening, you recognize, you feel, you know, you become one with the universe. And that doesn't become some flighty, altruistic, sort of ephemeral experience. It becomes a very powerful, embodied experience where your capacities, all that you've already accumulated through your skills through life, where your willingness, your own natural impetus and desire to grow, to expand, this natural evolutionary force we have within us, when they are awakened and combined, our capacities and our willingness, then it truly is pure magic. You're a living example of that. I always love your shares. You know, I'd love you to share, you know, when you came into our first retreat, that was one of our most, you know, it was a very magical moment for me, seeing you go through that. Would you be kind enough to share our first retreat together?
I'm honored to. And when you began our relationship, you invited me to your sacred home in Vancouver, and you said, we're going to be doing a deep dive, just you and I together, working one-on-one. And I really didn't know what to expect. I was just swept up in kind of an awestruck awareness that you had even found me. But I showed up, and the morning when I woke up that first morning, I went outside to meditate. I do have a meditation practice. I've been meditating for 20 years, and so it is a big part of my rituals for the morning. And I went outside to meditate, and there was a beautiful rainbow that greeted me. And rainbows are like my thing. They are the sign that I am on the path of my highest self, and it was just such a beautiful greeting that morning. When you and I sat down for our very first exercise together, you said, okay, we are going to go through an experience, and most times for people to become enlightened, they have to isolate themselves or retreat from the world and put 100% attention on enlightenment. And we're going to do an exercise that could take a Zen monk for 20, 30 years in isolation to achieve. And we're going to sit here until you get it, until you get enlightenment. Which of course is like, wow, no pressure. What if we're here for 20 years? Okay, here we go. And in that process, in that experience, in that exercise, I achieved enlightenment. And enlightenment being everything became present. I had no past, no future thoughts. It was an expansion of the moment that kept going and going and going and going out beyond galaxies, and then also into the micro, inside into the atoms, the molecules, even to the quantum level. The awareness of the present moment expanding in all directions through me and around me, and an innate feeling of bliss, just supreme, profound bliss. And when I got it, I was like, I'm here. I am enlightened. You said, wonderful. That's where we start. And that alone was like, what? You know, because coming from a philosophical background, metaphysical, I've read all these books, I've been to many, many retreats and experiences, and it's always been this pursuit of enlightenment, something that you have to work for, and maybe someday you might experience. And for you to say, this is the beginning, enlightenment is the first stage, the first step, it completely rewired my entire nervous system. I felt the new neural connections of being able to say that this is the starting place and this is the beginning. From there, we went into another exercise, and you said, we're now going to discover your Dharma, why your soul came into this lifetime. What are you here to experience and create in this lifetime? Yeah. And again, it's kind of like, yeah, right. What if we don't get this? Like pressure, you know, but the process is so natural. I never felt a sense of resistance or confusion, and you're just so kind and loving and supporting through the process. All your resistance barriers just drop away. And through that exercise, my Dharma became clear to me. And when I say clear, I mean 3 words level of clarity, why my soul is here. And it's no coincidence that my Dharma also serves my greatest talents, and that I am most fulfilled when I am serving those talents and expressing that Dharma. And so that clarity has not only given me access to go deeper and deeper into my gifts, because of that confidence of knowing this is why I'm here, and I am honoring and sharing those gifts with the world, but it also has eliminated all the distraction, all of those, oh, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that, or what if I do this a little bit on the side, etc. It's just this clarity of knowing that all those other distractions are never going to serve my soul at this level of my Dharma. And also, I will never be the greatest at any of those other things. And so that constant questioning, I think, created a lot of self-doubt because I was doing things that weren't fulfilling me and were never going to be my greatest tools or acts of service to the world. So the clarity of the Dharma combined with the expansiveness of enlightenment it's like a double helix of wrapping an awareness and an experience and an access to power in every moment that I continue to practice every day and every breath of my life. And I received all of that the very first day that I came to work with you. And I said, wow, okay, so I'm now enlightened and I know my Dharma, and we haven't even had lunch yet. What's next? And that was my introduction to your mastery.
Thank you. Well, I'd also, since we've been on this journey together now for a while, it's been a very magical journey seeing you unfold, and our relationship has deepened, and our insight has deepened, and our gifting has deepened. I'd love to know what other, as you came in through that retreat and then you brought these philosophies and these, if you will, turn-on points into your life, I'd love you to share what were some of the other main guiding principles that really supported you on this warrior sage path, transcendent leadership.
Well, I could write several books about this, and I am in the process of writing those books. The tools that I now have as an entrepreneur, I would say one of the biggest is a sense of relaxation. There isn't this angst of, am I worthy enough? Am I going to succeed? All the things that I thought I had to prove to myself and to others, that all stemmed from those childhood wounds that would never have been fulfilled had I continued on that path. It's just a relaxation of knowing that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be and doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And so as a result of this relaxation, the way that I show up in the world, the people come to me. I'm no longer having to search or to seek or to try to find opportunities, which I'm very good at. I am very driven, and so I'm a go-getter. But I get to relax, and the people who are showing up to be clients and business partners and investors, the people who are investing in my business have found me. And that's a completely different experience than what I have experienced in the decades before as an entrepreneur and a business person, where you had to go seeking it or cold calling or networking to find it. It's like a magnetic attraction that the exact right person is showing up to present not only the need for a solution, but they also open up a whole new realm of their network and their connections and their opportunities. So each amazing connection is a doorway to new and better and more incredible possibilities every single day. So I think that is definitely in the magical, mystical realm of possibility, which just makes me a better entrepreneur because I have this gift, I have this vision that's coming through me of how I want to serve the planet and how I want to leave the planet better off than when I found it. And so by me being able to relax, I'm able to focus more on that vision, and the vision is becoming clearer and clearer by the day.
Oh, beautiful. When you share, it's so obvious and tangible that you've embodied these principles, that you're living and breathing them, that it's not a mental construct you're trying to live up to or trying to integrate in your life. It's very obvious that these principles have awakened in you and now are flowering from within. And I believe that's one of the other essential principles of this path of transcendent leadership. Is it's less about taking the external and aiming to live up to external standards. It's all about waking up to who we are, our true relationship to ourselves. It sounds selfish, but it's actually the very opposite. It's about waking up to who we are, and then waking up to what we are in relationship to the whole. We have so many ideas about this. We can go on forever in philosophical realms. But the awakening experience of knowing my Dharma, what am I and who am I in relationship to life, in relationship to family, in relationship to work. When we have this awaken from within our being, this, what you've expressed, is the manifestation of that. We start entering this term that's been thrown around a lot, flow state. Flow state happens when we become one with existence. That's the highest state of flow, because existence is in flow. We could either join it, we can fight it, we can deny it, or we can merge with truth. And I believe merging with truth is the path of least resistance. It's the path of most beauty. It's the path of greatest ease, for sure.
It is. It's an experience that I had had before as like a state where I would have it and then it would go away. And so I was constantly seeking that state. It was like, where can I find it? What seminar can I go to? What book can I read? What experience can I have? And it was this like chasing of something that I had had a drop of. And it's enough of a drop where you're just like, oh, what is that? It's so good and so beautiful. But now that it's just flowing through me and around me, I sleep better, I wake easier, I have more fun, I have more joy. My yoga practice has become more transcendent because I have more space, I have more time, I have more freedom, and I'm able to relax into the now. Well, I know that we could go on and on all day, all week, all month, all lifetimes about this concept. And really, let's just conclude today's interview by saying an intention for what you want the viewer to take with them and how they can continue to experience this in their own life in leadership.
Beautiful. My intention for you, dearest transcendent leader, is that you receive the pearls of embodied wisdom these great leaders are sharing from within themselves in their life experience, and that we allow ourselves to infuse ourselves with deeper inspiration, more expansive awakening. We allow ourselves to infuse ourselves with these success stories and these wisdoms over the next few weeks that you'll be gaining from these transcendent leaders, and that we become very, very open to what does our own life have in store for us at the next level of being. So my question, what I'm leaving at the end is let's be even more open. Let's be absolutely open to a life of greater abundance, greater success, greater inner awakening, greater joy in our families, greater joy with our health and vitality, and really the capacity to achieve the impossible. I really want us to play with that during these next few weeks, and you'll see how what seemed to be the impossible will become an actuality starting right today.
That's so beautiful. Well, I am so honored to be on this journey with you, Satyen, to all of our leaders who are going to be joining us, the transcendent leaders who will be sharing their experience of this process that we have started talking about today. We're just getting started. Cannot wait to see what all unfolds. Thank you, Satyen, for being here.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you for watching. This is the Transcendent Leader, and here's to your transcendence.